Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. 8 games on Wednesday, getting ahead of these real early. We don't even have all of the games finished here on Tuesday night with this 14-game slate, but I do have 3 games that I was able to look at. We've got a couple spreads up already. Not going to have as many player props until tomorrow morning, so definitely come back with for another episode of this one that I'll be having a little special episode on the morning time tomorrow so that we can get some of these actual player props up, which, as we know, are the bread and butter. Also going to have the live stream, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, as we do each and every weekday. That's going to be going on tomorrow on Wednesday as well. Hopefully we'll find those winners together. You guys bring your bets. We go through all those together. I show you some of the process. Having a good time doing with that. But let's jump right into Wednesday. You're going to see we're not going to have too many injury reports official. So we're going to get right into these stats between a couple of teams that we're looking at. And game of the night is for sure going to be for that 1 seed in the West with the Timberwolves taking on the Nuggets on the road here. Really tough game for the Timberwolves, I'll say, on Tuesday night, even if they do pull that out. They're winning going into the 4th quarter against the Wizards, but they've taken a lot of effort and stamina to make sure that they beat this Washington Wizards team. The Nuggets are at halftime right now as I'm recording as well. They're up about double digits. So we'll see how those two teams match up tomorrow. But in the last 5, both looking really good all over the place, whether it's offensive rating or defensive rating, both playing at a much faster pace than you might think as well. Best rebounding teams in the league, couple of them, everything good from in terms of their shooting and their defensive effective field goal percentage. They've both been really getting it down to business essentially for this playoff run, right? If we look at the matchup between these two teams, the T-Wolves do own the record, and they will own the tiebreaker, even if the Nuggets win. But the Nuggets will be up a game, assuming they both win on Tuesday night. The Nuggets will be up a game here if they do pull this one out. So either way, this is basically for first place, even though neither team will be officially dead no matter what happens in this game. On the season, though, 111 points for the T-Wolves in those 2 wins versus just 100 for the Nuggets there. They've been missing guys. So, you know, the pace was at about 95.5. I wouldn't expect it to go too fast, probably around 95, 96 tomorrow as well on Wednesday when you're seeing this. Denver's won the rebounding battle, but the T-Wolves have been making their shots way more in this series this season as well. I think what we need to look at, maybe most importantly, is no rest stuff, right? Because the T-Wolves are very good this year on no rest, 10-2, scoring 114 a game. Nuggets are 6-6, and this is to the over, on no rest. The 10-2 is 10 out of the 12 games they played on no rest have gone over out of those 12 and 114 points per game in that time frame. Nuggets 6-6 to the over. Half the time they're going under, but they are scoring 111 as well in these situations. And I really do think it's a case of the fact that the T-Wolves, they're both playing a bit faster on no rest. They both score a good amount of points on no rest. And although I do like the Nuggets in this one, based on how the Timberwolves have shown me over the last 30 minutes as I was getting ready to record here and putting all my notes together, is I don't trust the Timberwolves on this back-to-back after trying so hard against the Wizards. Nuggets are going to look like they're going to handle the Jazz, and they sat Aaron Gordon tonight. Jamal Murray will be on a minutes limit. I think this is good for an over, but I also like this Nuggets line at -5.5 right now. Both are good. I have a lean on this. I just want to make sure I know who's playing tomorrow, and that if there's any announcements about guys on minutes limits, I don't want to bet going into this yet, but I will have a final bet tomorrow on that live stream and hopefully in that video tomorrow morning as well. Next up, got the Mavs at the Heat, and Mavs wiped the floor with Charlotte. Heat had a little bit harder time with Atlanta, who's definitely much better, and will be playing Charlotte here on Wednesday as well. But for the Mavs, they are going to be favored right now, -1.5, 219.5 on the total there. You look at the offensive rating for both teams, pretty good, middle of the pack. The Heat have been playing really bad competition. It's a huge part for why I'm pretty sure their offenses look better. Hero's been back for now the 3rd game or so, and Terry Rozier missed Tuesday night, so he might be back on Wednesday. Got to see more about the lineups before we make official bets too often in these types of games. But the D rating has been really good for the Mavs and has continued basically at a top 5 pace in terms of their defensive rating over the course of the last 10 games or so. So they've been maintaining this defensive prowess that they've shown. The pace has been pretty high for Dallas, but they haven't been going over too much, to be honest. They're actually 2-8 to the over in their last 10 games overall. So I still think the pace is indicative of them playing a little bit more in transition, but they do also run a really good half-court offense. So we'll see. I mean, the Heat you're not going to be able to run too much on the Heat, to be honest. As good at the transition defense as they've been. Both teams have been poor at rebounding, but shooting the ball well. So I think there is the likelihood for some more shots to go up. I would lean towards the over in this game in general. But if you look at the stuff on no rest for both these teams, they don't go over very much on no rest. And there's a little bit of a caveat there. Most teams on no rest are going to oftentimes give their stars some rest and not make them all play back to back, as we know, trying to figure out these injury reports in the NBA. That said, I think it's all hands on deck, right? The Mavs still have a shot, depending on what happens in a couple games tonight. They still have a shot at the 4 seed, currently sitting in the 5 seed, and the Heat are really still trying to make sure they don't sit in the play-in, which is going to be tough with the Pacers winning on Tuesday, but they still need to win out. I believe they're going to pull it out against Atlanta. We'll see the final score there, but just as important is, like, these teams are going to be trying. There's not going to be guys necessarily sitting, so you can bank on, for both these teams, probably most hands on deck. Let's put it that way. If you look against the spread, though, the Mavs have been so much better on no rest than the Heat team, who has been weird all season, and we've seen Jimmy Buckets sit a lot on back-to-backs and things like that. But if you look at the margin of victory for the Mavs in these no rest games, they're winning by 5.7 points regardless of what the spread is. And for the Heat, they're actually losing by about 3.2 points in these situations. So with these two teams in this context, I do prefer the Mavs in this one. I still lean it because I need to see who's playing, obviously, for both squads. And if the Heat just sit everybody, this will probably just fly up. But I think 1.5 is still a good number here. And with the way that the Mavs were able to just walk away with that win in Charlotte, it's likely that they're going to be the better rested team, right, coming into this one, even if they are on the road. So the only advantage for Miami is that they didn't travel. They played at home on Tuesday, and they're playing at home on Wednesday. But Dallas playing much better, looks much better. I believe in them way more, and I'm taking them at -1.5 here. Very interesting game to talk about here with the Magic at Milwaukee. Now, the Magic are playing a close game against the Rockets right now as I'm recording. The Bucks, I actually know now roughly right before I started recording, let's put it. Giannis left the game with a calf injury. Doesn't look great. It doesn't look like he'll necessarily be back for this one. I would say he's not likely to come into this game against the Magic, or probably even go to the arena if he's needing to rest it and get some treatment on it. So with that in mind, what do we do? Well, let's take a look at the last 5 first of all. And Giannis has obviously been playing in those games, but both these teams had really easy strength of schedule the last 5 games. And the Magic have looked really good, beating up on bad teams, as we know they do. I would lean Magic in this game, just if you look at the way that they're rebounding and playing offense and defense at a much better rate than what we've seen from the Bucks against bad teams as of late as well. You knew the Bucks were going to bring it against the Celtics. I would worry that they expound all their energy in that one. That the Giannis thing is going to be, it was a lift in game for him to leave, and they're like, let's rally around it and get this one for Giannis, that kind of thing. But now you've got them with another day off, with some time in between this next game. Now you're going to be relying on a lot of jump shooting from Chris Middleton and Dame Lillard. And that's really going to be your best play there moving forward, without Giannis as the dude who obviously makes everything go towards the rim. Now, Dame will be attacking the rim as well, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But let's look at these teams on no rest. If you look at them in terms of against the total here, Magic are going over 8 out of 14, scoring 110. Bucks going over 7 out of 13 and scoring 121. So I do think the tendency for offense in this one will be a little bit higher. Giannis is so important to their defense. You can say what you want about their offense with Giannis, but he is wildly important to their defense. And they're 3-3 on the season without Giannis when he sits in this season. So we'll see what happens there. But I also want to look at the against the spread stuff. The Bucks have been much better against the spread on no rest, still handling business, even though they're only 7 covered out of 7 out of 13 games. They have won by an average of 4.5 points, whereas the Magic have lost by an average of 4.5 points in these situations. We're probably going to see the Magic open here in a minute at like +1, +2. I didn't have time to wait for that, so I got it out without these lines officially up. But I will say that I still lean Magic in this one if they get a big enough spread. +1, still at a pick 'em. I don't have a lean there, but I do have a bet that I'm willing to place here, and it's Dame to go off. And it's against the Magic. They give up points above the break, 2 point guards. They give up points to the opposing ball handler in the pick and roll. I think Dame is good for a ladder up to 30. I expect this to open 25.5. Is around what I expect. I put 26 here so that if it goes up to 26.5 at some point, nobody needs to hit me up and be like, hey, would you take it at 26.5? You now know I would. I would also ladder this to 30. I think Dame's good for 30 in this one, averaging 32.3 points per game in the 6 that he's played without Giannis on the Bucks this year. 21 field goals basically a game, and he's getting to the free throw line like 3 more times without Giannis in there, because he is now the dude who's responsible for for driving and causing the imbalance in the defense much more than Giannis is, right? So like I said, Orlando's vulnerable against this exact type of player, scoring point guards from up top. Dame's going to be taking a ton of shots in this one. Middleton seemed gassed. We'll see if he's got anything for tomorrow. I don't think he's a bad play moving forward against this team, but if you're looking for points from a specific player, I'm going with Dame. I know it sounds chalky, but this is a matchup that's ripe for him, and it's nut crunching time, man. Like, this is Dame time for a reason. So let's back him tomorrow. We'll have the official lines up in the morning, and I'll make sure that you know what the bet is for Dame. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Like I said, subscribe to that page, like these videos if you would, super helpful. I'm going to be back tomorrow with that live stream, but I'm also going to have a video up in the morning, try to get a few player props your way so that we can get ahead of some of this stuff. If you're not able to make the live stream or you want to get those earlier numbers as soon as props start coming out, I'm going to do my best to see what lines are available, get that stuff to you in the morning. But until I do see you tomorrow, happy betting.